the purpose of this is to teach you really quickly about the Stockstone program and how we offer that to customers as an incentive for them to take action when their budgets may not be that high, and we can keep them within their budget in order to accomplish their goals. All right, so what it's called is the Stockstone program. And what it does is it takes some of the major factors such as fabrication, production, installation, and the stone itself, and puts it all into one package price, so they're able to achieve the purchase of material on colors that we sell quite a bit of, maybe something that has the same consistency pattern. For example, we'll take Uba Tuba. It's a basic pattern, so you've got a slab, for example, where this part of the slab looks like this part of the slab, looks like this part of the slab, and so forth. So as we cut through slabs and use certain pieces, we then take the leftover pieces and just put it in stock and wait a little bit of time so that we can then turn it over into another project, so that ultimately this piece of material is not used as trash or waste, and we're able to essentially take it where maybe a customer coming along needs a full slab and then maybe just a little bitty piece, and we can use this old piece from the old job because it's from the same source of material in order to then sell this customer and prevent them from going somewhere else and buying. As of right now, there's about 15 different colors that are part of this Stockstone program. And with the Stockstone program, it is just that. Normally in this same scenario, we would have slab number 1, and if we didn't have this program, we would have another slab number 2, that's needed just to cut a little bitty piece out. Well, the problem is that somebody has to pay for this slab number 2, and it's going to be the customer, and the customer doesn't always have the money to pay for that. So the Stockstone program helps alleviate some of the financial items that a customer may have in order to help them achieve the goals of getting the countertops. Okay, so as I said, it's going to include a few different things. Just to make it easy to sell, we want to make sure that we are taking the actual fabrication, so it's the fabrication of the product, where they're paying for fabrication, installation, and general production, plus the stone color that they select. Now right now, as I said, it's about 15 colors, and they're consistent patterns all the way through. It may increase at times, it may decrease at times. Colors may be entered in, they may be subtracted out, and it really fluctuates based upon market conditions, as well as the actual pricing that we get from vendors that make it lucrative essentially for us to sell that product in that scenario, knowing that there's going to be a high supply or demand for the supply that we carry in stock. Okay, because we may carry a piece of stone for 3 months before we turn around and use it again, or we're waiting for another customer to come along that needs just that specific size, or a little bit smaller of the remnant. All right, so when we have a stone, it's important to know that these stones are going to have different prices. All right, this is always going to be the same price no matter what. And in general, outside of this program, that price is $29.95. Okay, so at $29.95, we've incorporated all of this into a total price for all of these guys, starting at $39.95. Now, at certain times, we'll have promotions where we'll do this entire section for $29.95 because we always need like a market presence or a market point. Something that we'd put out on a sign, for example, so people see it driving by on the freeway, would see $29.95 a square foot, fabrication and installation included. It's going to be an ugly color, frankly. It's going to be hideous. But what it does is it gives us that option to have that customer come in and talk with us, thus giving us an opportunity to sell them another product or sell them upgraded services that will offset the cost of selling something, for example, at $29.95. But just for this general aspect right now, we're running at about $39.95 a square foot. And that's going to be basic colors. It's going to be the Uba Tuba, the Dallas White, the Bainbrook. And the Bainbrook is typically of any color that if we did need to drop down to $29.95 just to have that price point, we would use Bainbrook. Out of 15, 16 years that we've been doing this, Bainbrook is probably one of the more hideous colors, but it's fairly inexpensive. And we want to put it as a hideous color and sell it at this price because very few people are going to do that. Out of maybe, I don't know, 1,000 plus transactions that we've done with our Stockstone program over the decade, you know, out of that, I think there's been 3 Bainbrooks that were sold. But there were a lot of people that came in looking at Bainbrook. Now I'm going to tell them that it's ugly and it's hideous and all of those different aspects just so they know it's okay not to like it. And I immediately get them off the Bainbrook at $29.95, and I'm getting them into different colors that are more, I guess, advantageous for their color palette or what have you. So anyways, now that we have that kind of outlined, what I want to do is go a little bit more in depth. So if we have these products starting at $39.95, and it's going to be a series of, you know, 3 or 4 colors, what we then do is we turn around and we then have the a la carte. So we have the a la carte added to that. And so with the a la carte, what happens is that's going to be your sink cutout, that's going to be the sink itself, all of the, maybe a cooktop cutout. It's going to be the edging profile that they select, etc. And it's a la carte because the thing is everybody's going to be different. Not everybody's going to have a cooktop cutout. And not everybody's going to want an undermount sinkhole cutout and polish. They may want a drop-in sink cutout, which has different pricing and things. Not everybody's going to want an OG edge. Some people may want a basic edge or even an edge that doesn't cost, you know, essentially $16 a linear foot. They may want an eased edge, where an eased edge is only going to be $4.95 a linear foot. And so these prices will always change, so don't take me for the pricing on this, but just as an example so that you have an idea and a concept to base it off of. Okay, now moving forward, after the a la carte things, there's going to be maybe things like demo, sealer, and so the list goes on, but the main thing and the main selling feature of this program is that the customer is not required to buy a slab or 2 slabs or 3 slabs just to complete a project. All they're doing is they're paying for the material they need. And that's the most important thing, is that if somebody's at 60 square foot of countertop space, at 60 square foot, right off the bat, no matter really what they're buying, that's going to be 2 slabs. But in the Stockstone program, all that's going to be is 60 square foot times $39.95, which is basically $2,400. So instead of it being $4,000, they're right off the bat already at $2,400. And it's material that we're going to hold, as I said earlier, and sell it later to another customer that likes the same color. So then we're going to start doing all the a la carte things that they want. So we add this up. We're building in pure profit margin aspects. You know, sinks are going to be basic, but $199. Sinkhole cutout and polish, $289. Cooktop cutouts. So it kind of goes on. And then we get to demo and sealer. Sealer, you know, there's so many options on the sealer, but that's a whole other aspect. So as we add up, I know just as a general rule of thumb that if I'm adding these up, most people on average are going to be about $1,800, okay, for the a la carte stuff. And Stockstone program. Okay, so Stockstone program, they're getting in for $2,400 plus the a la carte things that they need. As they've got those 2 numbers right there, instead of just the stone being, if they had to do another program where they had to buy the full slabs just to do the project, you're talking maybe $4,200 plus the a la carte things at that point, which, you know, you're talking $6,000 for a project. And a lot of times that may be a lot of money for somebody that is looking to do a small countertop project of 60 square foot. But in this case, you know, they're at $4,200 and we're still winning because we still have the majority of 1 slab left over that we can then carry over into the other projects, is what I'm talking about. Now, I don't go too detailed into what we do with those extra pieces. All I do is I let people know exactly that they have options of getting into the material, not having to buy the full slabs. And that's something that they really like, because It gives them a sense of security, because what we're trying to do is differentiate ourselves from other places that are going to charge them, for two slabs or things in that sense. So with that being the case, we're at $4,200 as opposed to $6,000. So if they're going other places and getting a market price of about $6,000, to where they're walking through the door and they're getting $4,200, you can see which direction they want to go, or they will go, as long as we meet their other needs. And that gets into some other stuff as far as quality of service, the emotional aspects that they have as far as the purchasing, insurance, credibility, honesty, all of those good things that help people make their decision to actually buy or not buy. We want them to be happy, and we want to make sure that we get them rocking and rolling and in and out quickly. Okay, so that explains the Stock Stone program. Now, there's some important distinctions with this, is that as we go through it, you want to make sure that we are actually, because we want to make sure that we're actually getting something situated that is profitable for us. So there's a few just aspects that we want to make sure that we cover in order to protect ourselves. Okay, the first and most important thing is, if they want that price of $39.95, well, there's some limits to that. We got to make sure that their project, whether we go through it in detail, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we got to make sure that we're covering at least 45 square foot of, there we go, of purchase, okay? So they're at least buying 45 square foot, okay? So if they have 41 square foot, they're still paying for 45 square foot. That's an important thing, because this is kind of our break mark, okay? If we don't charge 45 square foot, and let's say they have 32 square foot, they're still going to end up having to pay as if they have 45 square foot. Now, there are times where I will, if I believe the customer would be more apt to adding vanities and sinkhole cutouts and faucet holes and sinks themselves, I want to increase their square footage, because it's going to make my a la carte number go up by, a sink being $99, a sinkhole cutout for a vanity being $200, the faucet corals 36, demo per square foot. So it adds to the ticket. But the problem is, and you don't want to go too fast, too far, because it's easier for somebody to bite off $4,200 as opposed to $5,000 or $6,000. But you want to make sure that as you go through it, you're keeping them within their budget. All right. Now, going back to 45 square foot, the 45 square foot, no matter if they're buying a $39 program stone, a $59, a $69, a $49, a $79, and as I said, there's a lot of different colors in this program, but no matter what, they have to still do 45 square foot. Even if they're doing the $79 or the $69 stone, that includes all of the aspects as we disclosed above, with the exception of the a la carte, because that's added individually. No matter what they're doing, they still have to account for 45 square foot. Now, they don't have to use 45 square foot of material, and I prefer they didn't, because I would love to sell 32 or 18 or, I don't know, 27 square foot, and they're going to pay for 45 no matter what. Now, when you're selling and when you're talking to them, you may want to put yourself, in a position that you're already budgeting them for 45, because you'll see pricing categories. Like, this is going to be pricing category number 1, okay? So you're already in the mindset that you got $40 a square foot, $39.95, and then you got 45 square foot. Well, you're at $1,800, $1,900, whatever it comes to be, and then or $2,000. Then you move into the a la carte. Well, $2,000 plus $1,800 in general for a la carte. That's $3,800. So you're already in the mindset of knowing where their price is going to be, just based upon the pricing categories, and knowing that they have to do a minimum of 45 square foot. So as you're talking to them and negotiating a little bit and filling them out, qualifying them, essentially, not necessarily negotiating at that point, but you're finding out all of their needs, their wants, their desires, and their whys. The ABCs, the who, what's, when, where's, whys, and we'll talk about that later. But it gives you good options to know if they're test driving a car that's too expensive for them, or if they can bump up a couple of marks in order to get a more luxurious color of stone or what have you, okay? So very important distinction. No matter what, we're charging them 45 square foot. So 45 is the magic number. Now if they go to 47, okay, that's fine. We're billing them for 47. If they go to 68, we're billing them for 68. If they go to 110, we're still billing them for 110. It's only when it's under 45 square foot do we then actually bill for 45 square foot. You can tell them, or you can incorporate it into the price, okay? So what I do is, say this is off 4 square foot. Well, I'm gonna take 4 square foot and add 4 square foot to this price in order to get it to the 45 square foot minimum for that stock stone program. It doesn't mean that you kick them out the door if they only have 10 square foot or 15 square foot. If they want that stock stone price that includes all of the things here, then we're gonna bill them for 45 square foot. That's just the nature of it. Some people are fine, some people aren't. Some people think they're gonna get a vanity for 200 bucks. Some people are realistic. So you just have to work through that to qualify them in order to help them achieve those different aspects, okay? So moving along, let's get rid of all this here. Now, with the stock stone program, there's certain times you're going to be protected no matter what, because we realistically have a minimum purchase price of $2,000 across the board. If somebody's wanting to spend $1,400 for countertops, that really doesn't do us any favors, okay? So sometimes people get confused with the minimum square footage and the minimum price that we charge to take a customer on. All right, so if somebody's wanting to spend $1,400, it's our job to convey to them, that we need to get them to 2,000, okay? Because projects like that are going to be a little bit too small, because the cost of labor, the cost of production, fabrication, taking time out of our calendar to then send a team to do the installation. So there's a lot of different things that can affect that. Let's say they've got a vanity, and let's reverse engineer this. They have a vanity that they are, let's say there's 2 sinks in there. All right, so that's $200 for sinks that we got to subtract out of that. 2 sinkhole cutouts, that's $200 each, so $400 there, we've got to subtract out of there. Edging, let's say they've got $50 worth of edging. Let's subtract that out of there. Measurement and templating appointment, that's $200. We got to subtract that out of there. Demolition of old countertops, let's just estimate at $100. Actually, I'll even go 50 bucks, just to have fun with it. All right, so then you've got that. And I'm probably going to forget a few different things, but regardless, I could even say faucet core holes. But you got 6, you got 8, $900. So $900 and just a la carte things for a small vanity, minus the 14. So that basically leaves them $500 to find material. Well, they're not going to be able to get the stock stone program really, because we're not going to be able to sell them remnants and still make a profit. So if we look at this, and this has a margin of, let's say, 15% profit, well, that's okay, but that doesn't really help us. And then we've got the cost, the installation, the fabrication, and production, and the stone all rolled up into this. Well, if it cost us anywhere between, $600 to, I don't know, depending on the day, $800 to send a team out to a property, and all of a sudden we're paying somebody at $1,400, we're paying them about $200 to $300 for the pleasure of installing countertops in their home. So, that's why we have minimum set up, not only minimum for dollar amount, but also the minimum for square footage on the stock stone program. So keep those things in mind, because realistically we have to work within the system, and if we start deviating outside of the system, then it can create a bunch of issues. All right, so as I'm selling the stock stone program, what I want to do is I want to emphasize the fact of the slabs. I want to emphasize it includes the full fabrication of your project, the full installation of your project, and general production. Now, production is going to be things like slab transfers. So we've got slab transfers from the suppliers, possibly from the distributors. We've got to the design center. We've got photograph production, where we take the high resolution and we have to lay those out. We then do all of the layouts. We then have to ship it down to our production facility, where it then has to get we transpose the templates onto the actual material, and then it gets ready for cutting and fabrication. So there's a lot of different steps that are involved, and at any given time, there's about 6 or 7 people working on just one project, and that's a lot. So as we move forward, you want to make sure that, and that's just on the back side of it, as you move forward, you want to make sure that you maintain the integrity of the program while still pitching some of the favorable things. The main things are it's going to be these aspects. And these aspects are strong and powerful, but only if you take the time to explain the program. Now, you want to also talk about you're only being billed for the material you use, as I gave the analogy or the example earlier, or maybe, in the entire slab, they're only using this piece, and of course a full slab here. You're only being billed for the material you use as a consumer, so that's a great advantage. And then you get to see details of what you're actually purchasing at one final price down at the bottom, so you're not being misled or confused. You're not going to be called up later and say, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you need another slab. You're going to have to pay another $1,000, $1,200." We don't do any of that. What we do is we make it simple, we make it easy, and this is one of the best programs to pitch when you're in a fast scenario of, for example, like the state fair, home and garden shows. You've got multiple people in the showroom. You can pull them all aside and you can talk about the benefits of the Stock Stone program, and it gives them a lot of options, essentially, because as I said, there's about 15 colors right now, and that list is going to continue to grow. All right, so there's some basic things about this. Hope I explained it in a way that was easy to understand, and definitely comment any questions that you have so that it builds up the timeline. So if any other people have those same questions or things that I didn't cover, I'll be able to incorporate that into the future videos where I'm outlining some specific aspects that are more detailed, getting into the sales aspect of the Stock Stone program, and in addition to some of the other programs that we offer. All right, thanks.